Texas became an independent nation. Without Texas, the USA would lose approximately 7% of its land and 8.8% of its population. With a land area of 268,597 square miles, Texas would rank as the 39th largest country globally, surpassing the sizes of France and Germany, though smaller than others like Argentina and Kazakhstan. Its population of around 29 million would make it the 50th most populated country in the world, just behind Nepal. Talking about its economy, Texas boasts a substantial GDP of $2.3 trillion, securing its position as the second largest in the United States and the 10th largest globally, just behind Italy and outpacing the likes of Brazil and Canada. Finally, with over 175,000 active military personnel, an independent Texas would emerge as a global superpower, significantly altering the geopolitical landscape, and would be considered a sizable nation.
Yeah. And welcome to News from the Pew, where we take news from around the interwebs and we talk about it. I'm your host, Rick Barrett, the Armed Catholic. You can find me at thearmedcatholic.com. I'm still
looking good. You look good.
Yeah, you know what? This is the best I've looked ever. So we probably will just keep it. Folks, my laptop is en route, so I don't know. Maybe by the new year, I'll have this all set up for you. It doesn't matter about me because it's all shush. I will mute you. Quiet. It's not about me. It's all about my amazing panel. We have our good friend from the great state of Kentucky joining us, Mr. Fawaz Yazzie, who is finishing up a very successful year from the iTunes streaming perspective. And congratulations, Fawaz, on all your success with that, especially the uphill road you're fighting on that. So
I owe it to everybody, man. Seriously, everybody who supported me, I owe it to you guys. Thank you.
Well, you continue to put out great stuff, man. It's easy to support.
Thank you.
Speaking of support, you have the godfather of Catholic YouTube media, the one and only the new mug right there, Mr. Steve Cunningham, out of the great state of North Carolina or South Carolina.
I put it in front of me because I make a screw up every 5 minutes, and I just look at it and goes, yep.
It does. Yeah, well, yeah. It is.
Mildred's grandson, is that what's Mildred's grandson, right? Steve.
So we're very happy that you're hanging out with us in this on this vigil of the Immaculate Conception, which is tomorrow, folks. So make sure you get to Mass, however you need to get there, and so forth. But we are in the vigil stage, which Steve reminded us all this morning that we should actually be fasting. This was after. This is how modern, it's the modernity stink I have on me. I had just put down a sausage, egg, and cheese croissant, and then I looked on Twitter, and I was like, son of a...
That's all right, man.
We're interrupt this for a special...
Yeah. Well, no, my special mug is sin makes you fat. But that's for me because my sin of gluttony is just something I constantly fight. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, folks. We got a great show looking back at the week's event for you. I guess we'll start with the most recent one, which was last night's debate, probably because it's also the most meme-worthy as well, because Vivek at this point is just like, I don't even care if I win. I'm just taking everybody else with me. And it was a sight to see.
Truth to power, then vote for somebody who's going to speak the truth to you. Why am I the only person on this stage, at least, who can say that January 6th now does look like it was an inside job? That the government lied to us for 20 years about Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11? That the Great Replacement theory is not some grand right-wing conspiracy theory, but a basic statement of the Democratic Party's platform? That the 2020 election was indeed stolen by big tech? That the 2016 election, the one that Trump won for sure, was also one that was stolen from him by the national security establishment that actually put up the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that they knew was false.
Stop talking.
There's a reason why I'm the... So foreign policy experience is not the same as foreign policy wisdom. I want everybody at home to note that I was the first person to say we need a reasonable peace deal in Ukraine. Now a lot of the neocons are quietly coming along to that position, with the exceptions of Nikki Haley and Joe Biden, who still support this, what I believe is pointless war in Ukraine. And I think those with foreign policy experience, one thing that Joe Biden and Nikki Haley have in common is that neither of them could even state for you 3 provinces in eastern Ukraine that they want to send our troops to actually fight for. Look at that. This is what I want people to understand. These people have, I mean, she has no idea what the hell the names of those provinces are, but she wants to send our sons and daughters and our troops and our military equipment to go fight it. So reject this myth that they've been selling you, that somebody had a cup of coffee stint at the UN and then makes $8 million after, has real foreign policy experience. It takes an outsider to see this through. Look at the blank expression. She doesn't know the names of the provinces that she wants to actually fight for. And there's her puppet masters right there, the donors.
Russians and Iranians and Hamas. We need social media companies to go and fight back on all of these bots that are happening. That's what I said. As a mom, do I think that social media would be more civil if we went and had people's names next to that? Yes, I do think that, because I think we've got too much cyberbullying. I think we've got child pornography and all of those things. But having said that, I never said government should go and require anyone's name.
That's false.
She said, I want your name.
She
As President of the United States, her first day in office, she said, one of the first things I'm going to do,
I said we were going to get the millions of bots.
She wants government ID.
That's what she said. You can roll the tape. She said, I want your name. And that was going to be one of the first things she did in office. And then she got real serious blowback, and understandably so, because it'd be a massive expansion of government. We have anonymous speech. The Federalist Papers were written with anonymous writers. Jay, Madison, and Hamilton, they went under Publius. It's something that's important, and especially given how conservatives have been attacked and they've lost jobs and they've been canceled. You know the regime would use that to weaponize that against our own people.
Okay. Are you Ron Burgundy him?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's just very awkward with his hands. Anyway, you didn't even get the meme moment. That was the most important, like the greatest one, where he was like, Nikki equals chaos. Or
corruption,
or something like that.
Corruption. Nikki corruption. Yeah.
I mean, that shows you how in step he was. You notice he held it up at the perfect angle too to be captured by the camera.
He knew that was going to be a meme.
So Fawaz, none of these people are going to be in the general election.
Nope.
Maybe Vivek is some kind of cabinet position. Folks, before you get after me, I understand this is stupid. Electoral politics is dumb, but it is the current system that we live under, so we should at least acknowledge it while it takes place. So your thoughts on it? I don't know if you watched it or you just watched the highlights. I mean, at this point, it really is clear that there is the donor.
That I have a woman problem.
Oh, here you go.
Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. And I think that that's what people need to know. Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send your kids to die so she can buy you a bigger house. This is the problem. Using identity politics.
I like how the cameraman is like, go back to
Harris is a form of intellectual fraud. And it actually needs to, and there's our donor puppet masters wielding their puppet right up here tonight. This is how this game is played. The puppet masters put up their puppet, and I reject the use of identity politics in this party. It has been a cancer coming from the left, and I'm sick and tired of the double standards. The people of this country are too. Having 2 X chromosomes does not immunize you from criticism.
Thank you.
Ooh.
I mean,
he just wrote it down.
and then held it up long enough. Notice how they went to Nikki, and the executive producer had the thing, you go back to him now. Go back. And they had to switch back and forth.
He had to take his idea from Rick.
Yeah. I mean, that is what it is. Everybody's just trying to be a meme at this point. That's how you get recognition. The fact is, you have whatever we all think of Vivek Fawaz, right? WEF, this, that, and the other thing. He is the guy he is toting the populist message. He is the closest thing. Trump is not in the debates right now. He's your Trump light. We all thought DeSantis was going to be it, but Vivek has emerged as the DeSantis light candidate. I mean, Trump light candidate.
Yeah, and this good to be with you guys again. In this great circus that we're viewing, if you look at some of these candidates, obviously none of them think they're going to win. Chris Christie, give me a break.
Yeah.
None of them actually think they're going to win, and we know this. They're all either shooting for vice president, second place, or they're all shooting for cabinet positions. Well, I think with Vivek, let's be honest, a lot of the arguments he made were not that great. They were great zingers, but if you break down the argument, it's not a great argument. But because I'm not a fan of anybody over there, I just love to see it. especially when someone like, a warmonger like Nikki Haley, gets called out for who she is. I'm old enough to remember women saying that if women were in charge of history, we would not have had the wars that we've had in history. The men are the ones who screwed up the world. Well, number one, we don't know that. Number two, looking at the current political status, do you think Hillary Clinton would not have gone to war? Do you think Nikki Haley would not have gone to war, or Kamala or Kamala, or however she wants to be referred to? And what about the fact that all of those men had wives? None of them stopped them. And a lot of times, if you look at Nazi Germany in the camps, a lot of the women were just ruthless, who were ahead, in rankings. So this whole idea of human nature is human nature, and when we're a fallen person, and when human beings become casualties, when human beings become nothing but just an afterthought and subhuman, we'll sacrifice them for anything, especially for our agenda. So let's look at this as a fallen human nature aspect versus men versus women. But looking at just policy wise, I don't know if here's the thing. Let me look at it in a Catholic perspective, because we are a Catholic news channel that we talk about, news from the pew.
Absolutely.
What Vivek did yesterday was what we consider proper charity. It was actual charity, because charity and truth can never be distinct. It can never be separated. Charity and truth are always one. And to love your neighbor, according to Scripture, to love your neighbor is to admonish your neighbor in their sins, so that you don't fall into those sins as well. Is to love your neighbor is to admonish them in their sins, and that's charity. Now, we can talk about tone all we want, and I think tone does matter. I think for us, we have to be gentle, but firm, that we do not compromise the truth. But charity is not being nice. That's really what charity has become nowadays. People don't understand the proper understanding, or the Thomistic understanding of charity is not that some person is nice to you online, or they were nice to you. Charity is the love of neighbor for the sake of God. And you can never love your neighbor by affirming them in their lies, affirming them in their sins. You have to admonish them to get them to see that the spiritual life is really to be set apart, to be holy. And what Vivek did yesterday, even though he's not a Catholic, is a proper definition and understanding of what charity is, because he told the truth. He said the quiet part out loud, and he called them out in their lies. He called them out in their sins, and I applaud him for that reason. So if you look at the political climate, you cannot be a nice person nowadays. You cannot be an upstanding moral person and win an election. You just won't win. I mean, let's ask Steve. Steve was one of the most upstanding moral people that you'll know. He really tries to become holy, and he did run in his local election, and he lost. And mainly because he didn't want to stoop down, probably didn't want to stoop down to the political class that we have, that you have to be ruthless. But with you being ruthless, there has to be truth, and there has to be charity, because the way that Christ, even if you look at Christ, the way he admonished the Pharisees, it wasn't in a nice tone. It wasn't this fluffiness and picking lilies with his friends. Christ was tough, but he was truthful to get these people to understand their sins so they can change. And so what I saw yesterday in Vivek, where I do applaud Vivek, is the fact that he told everybody the truth in charity, which is to admonish their sins. So good job. But I will say this, my last point, none of them will be president. None of them will even get the nomination. It is Trump's. Trump's going to win the nomination. Whether he wins the presidency, we'll see what happens. And rightfully so, because there's no such thing as Trumpism. There's no such thing as Trumpism. What Vivek tried to do yesterday is what Trump did in 2015, and nobody does it as good as Trump.
No.
And you can try to push Trumpism as much as you want, but the people love Trump as more than they love Trumpism.
You know, the thing is with Trump is he would have shut down Chris Christie pretty quickly. First of all, if Trump was on the stage, Chris Christie would not have said a word because he's a coward. He's a bully, and he thrives on people not being there. So I would have loved to see him say all that stuff to Trump's face. He won't. And secondly, you're right. It's just, you know, you can try to be like Trump, but Trump is definitely not charitable in any way. And I don't think he's being nice in that way. But the fact remains is politics is a dirty business. And like you said, the Godfather over here has firsthand knowledge of trying to get into it. Show business for ugly people. That's what it is. It's always been, which maybe I should get into politics.
We all got one, Zach. We all got the new weapon of choice.
Right, the notepad. Well, they always said the pen is mightier than the sword. Your thoughts, Steve?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was great drama. Obviously, I didn't watch it. I saw the clips because I think I saw that they were even having one. I remember seeing a commercial for it. I go, they're having a fourth? They must need some ratings. Somebody needs something out there. I had no clue they were doing a fourth. I wonder what the numbers were for how many people watched it live, because you had to be bored out of your mind to say, you know what? I want to watch the fourth debate. Why? There's nothing else on TV. I don't know. The clips were fantastic, but that was the memes. But that's what people want. We'll talk about I won't use the next thing I will say for the next topic, I guess. But what Fawaz was saying about Trump. Yeah, Trump. People love Trump's politics, or at least what he says. And if they were honest, there ain't no way in God's green earth they'd say, "Oh yeah, we love his politics or what his actions have been." It's like that Dave Chappelle clip when he comes out and he pretends he's Trump because they're doing what they are doing what you think we're doing in there, and then he turns back around and goes back in and does it. I just don't get I saw Jack. He posted something about Trump on there today again, and it's going, really? And he's a politician. I mean, if you're saying he's an outsider now, past the hookah pie. I almost bought one. I was walking by the Chinese store, the Chinese restaurant that we like is next to a smoke shop, and I saw some hookah pies going, I need to get one for the set. Just so somebody can pass it to me while I'm on here. So, yeah, thank you. Maybe I could understand what's going on, but yeah, I mean, Trump's going to win, even if he's not going to go to prison. That's just more drama for everyone on TV to keep you interested in a thing. They're talking about the whole thing, oh, look, everything's coming down. There's election season. I even saw Patrick Madrid tweet that out about the trying to upstart the Rona again, just in time. I go, I'm reading the tweet going, just in time for what? I mean, do we just say that anymore? Oh, look, it's coming out. Okay, elections happen almost every year, every 2 years. The big ones every four. Something's always going to go down. And then, really, you're thinking it was November at the time. You're thinking they're going to do that a year in advance. What are they going to do? Now there's been talk about them shutting down the election. We talk about that at the gym. Sometimes I go, I would like to see that happen. January 6th would be a picnic compared to what would happen if they said, we're not doing the election because of war or something. They've been floating that around. They've been floating. I mean, what Haley said about the TikTok thing, that's code for digital ID. So you can have a digital, fingerprint everywhere so that we kind of have that now. But yeah, you don't, everyone with two working brain cells doesn't like the person that you don't know who their name is. I mean, you see those online punks on Twitter all the time that they just have some kind of name and they talk crap about other people and they say things that no human being would say in front of another one, but they have the courage behind a keyboard. That's their strength. If they ever said that in front of another, they probably would get the spit smacked out of them. Charitably, of course.
Of course.
But I mean, I get that part, but that's that argument. Oh, we got to do it because, keep people safe. They use that, but what they mean is the digital IDs and things like that. You get the CBDCs.
Didn't they use that for the Patriot Act? We have to keep people safe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they signed that every year. Oh, wait, every year. Trump signed it each year.
Yep.
Wait a minute. No, where's all the Trump apostles at? The guys that have gone to Mar-a-Lago, even the Catholic ones that call that out. Nah, crickets. The crickets are louder. We got AI, the AI thing going down in Israel. You guys, have you seen this? I forgot about that. I didn't put it up on the thing. Let's see. The gospel, they call it. Allahu Akbar, Allah. Obviously, I'm not supporting the Islamic call to prayer here, but
I like the background music. That's a nice touch.
It is good stuff. That's been Catholic churches bombed out there.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
You don't see the Catholics that are defending anything, saying anything, by the way.
No, like Ron DeSantis.
Or even the Catholic reporters. Mm-hmm. We got to support Shapiro.
Yeah. True.
You see that part?
What part?
Reportedly using a system that they call the gospel. Spreading the good news, right?
One Raytheon bomb at a time.
So they're calling it the gospel. They want this new quote unquote religion out there. The AI is going to pick who stays and who doesn't. What's her face? Whitney Webb had a great point on this. She brings up the idea that if you mine all the cobalt in the world, you only get about 1 billion EV cars out of the deal. How many people are on the planet? Obviously, if you do that math, not everyone's getting a car. You hear all these guys talking about depopulation, things like that. You're going to have probably the AI with this gospel. They've talked about creating a new religion. They're on the record saying that, Nova Harari and others, that there will be this new religion by AI that will create a new Bible. You got Israel, who was during the Rona times, the experimental nation for Pfizer. They're on the record saying they experiment on their own people.
99%. Yeah.
There's no accident what's going on out there. Obviously, it's not. It's a false flag in a sense, which, what's his face? He wrote the book on the pandemic. It was fantastic by Yate Dick. Ivan something, he's Irish. I ended up retweeting it anyway. Because of all the things that went down, 30 minutes, the electricity wasn't working. They didn't have anybody knowing what was going on for X amount of hours. It's all planned out, and they're pushing the gospel thing that's killing these people.
Yeah.
If that's the experimental nation for all this other stuff, what's not to say that's an experimental thing for this AI thing? They bring up the idea of there's going to be two classes of people that are ran by the AI and the people that are programming the AI. And sometime you're not going to know what's reality or AI, because I use AI now for some translations and
I do too. I use it to generate titles.
They will use that against us in a not so distant future. And if they're using that for killing now, that's just the 1.0 version for a global thing that they're using for it. There's no accident that they're calling it a gospel. They've talked about the religion, like I said, and they're experimenting people in real time while people are just sitting back doing nothing about it.
That's right,
Jonathan. We're got this debate going on that means absolutely nothing for these United States. Which, hey, by the way, that opening clip was because Texas has 100,000 signatures to leave But that now obviously it's not up for a vote. It's to get it on the ballot for the GOP so that they can talk about it, which is a great step anyways. But they can't do, it's not anything being voted on in the sense like England had or Britain with Brexit type deal. And hey, maybe everyone with the southern border, quote unquote, southern border, Texas can maybe do their own thing. And hey, we're going to chow down on that border of ours. Hey, U.S., your new border would be southern Oklahoma, which Oklahoma has been talking about getting out too. They probably would leave with Texas. And somebody else, Louisiana, the Southeast, they might actually do that too. Maybe we can give DC the gruesome Newsom and let them ride or die.
We would be fine. We would let Oklahoma tag along, right? They are the hat. So we're gonna keep our head warm. So that would be all right.
At least it keeps your football game, the big city or the big river battle going.
Texas has enough colleges. We could have our own football conference. I ain't worried about that. And then you could just invite the 2 Oklahoma State schools. John, I don't know if first of all, great to have you here, my friend. Glad to see you navigated the purgatory of Atlanta roadways well. And secondly, I don't know if you saw anything from last night's debate, if you have any comment on it, if you'd like to jump in on that. We're just discussing last night's GOP debate that for some reason actually took place.
Oh, just that a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I saw the face of Nikki Haley when Ramaswamy said you can't name 3 provinces. Now, granted, he should have said Oblast because Oblast is the name for a province in Ukraine. But hey, who's worried about that? Nikki Haley's sitting there like a deer in headlights, or like a poor little doe in headlights when he said that. So, it's worth a few laughs as far as I'm concerned. And as long as some of the war hawks are humiliated and shown for what they are, I think it'll be worth the chance to watch a rerun of the debates every once in a while, or watch at least some clips to see the Warhawks go down in flames.
I mean, it is nice that we're at this point now where we can call the Warhawks out for what they are, right? That we're not under this illusion anymore that there are, your establishment types are anything other than a process to get the war machine continuing and to go. Steve, you have one more thing?
Yeah, but that I forgot about the calling out Nikki thing. That was a ballsy move. If Nikki says, "Oh yeah, here's blah 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 blah," then Vivek looks like a complete moron. But it's not like he texted her up beforehand or called her, "Hey Nikki, how you doing? By the way, do you know any of the places that you wanted to go to?" "Oh sure, Vivek. I have no clue what I'm talking about." That didn't happen. So that was gutsy.
I gotta say
go ahead, John. No, you go.
Well, somebody that went to the same Catholic high school as he did, because I guess he went to a Catholic high school and was valedictorian, said that he was brilliant on the debate team or something like that, or in a logic class that was kind of like mixed with the debate team, and said, if you think about it, this is a buddy of mine. I didn't think this up. I'm just repeating what he said, and I thought it was well put. He made a brilliant rhetorical move. He set her up with basically, it's like, it's more or less like the conundrum. Can God make a rock so big that he can't lift it? Because it's logically impossible to come out on the right side of the question because of the way it's asked. If she names the oblast or the provinces, then she's basically admitting, yeah, I'm planning to bomb these 3 provinces. If she doesn't, then she's so ignorant, she's going to go blast something in Ukraine. She didn't have a clue where in that huge country that's almost as big as the contiguous U.S. She didn't know where it is, but hey, we're going to blast something over there. We're going to send our men over there to blast it. So she's stuck either way she goes. So it's really, rhetorically brilliant. So I don't know. Hopefully the Catholic school where he attended, gave him a little bit of something like that powerful use of logic.
Oh, hopefully. I mean, the ultimate thing would be for him to convert, obviously, for him and his family and his kids. But that's a great.
Somebody tweeted me that said I can't vote for somebody that believes in demons, and I responded to him and said, "Well, how many people sent medals to Trump? How many people have sent medals to Vivek? Probably none. But we're only focused on Trumpzilla. I mean, where's everyone going? Hey, I want my man to convert. Gruesome Newsom, send him something. I mean, why do we just focus on one guy in the entire planet?
You need to send like a tactical team with super soakers filled with holy water to Newsom. That's the only way you can even start that process. That dude is, that whole family. Anyway, speaking of which, Ukraine, that was a nice setup. Let's see what our Catholic in name only dementia-filled President Joey B has to say about the
a NATO member, that we defend every inch of NATO territory. Then we'll have something that we don't seek and that we don't have today. American troops fighting Russian troops. American troops fighting Russian troops if he moves into other parts of NATO.
Yeah, about that whole thing. That's just this idea, and we were talking about it, I think, yesterday and the day before. The whole Ukraine war is over. It's been over for a long time, but we all know it's just a money laundering operation at this point. We're gonna go John Fwaz and then Steve. Your thoughts on that speech and the fact that there is even a continuation of military operations in Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys are right to say that it's been over for a long time. I think just for what it's worth, I'll let this be my little input. I think the reason why it has continued is part of the evil folks who are really pushing for a new world order, and I just mean a new economic world order, new approach to humanity with the different ways we'd use AI, things like that. It's all part of a philosophy of, well, not just a theology, but really a philosophy of what man's all about. And because we human beings are social creatures, and it should touch us in some way every time somebody, near us or attached to us dies, then this continued wanton destruction of human life it's got to affect you, and if it doesn't, then, the mission accomplished for them. But the more that they continue to kill indiscriminately, and basically this is indiscriminate killing because it's not, there's no purpose at this point. There's no, as we've said from the very beginning, there's no realistic chance of kind of regaining what has happened. I mean, Ukraine made a move, and you could say NATO together with allies made a move, and Russia basically called the bluff. It's not canonizing Putin to recognize that; it's recognizing reality to recognize that. And so, the only reason I think, or at least one of the principal reasons why the war continues to go on, is just the more they kill when they don't have to kill, and the more people who are killed this way, then it shows us they really don't have any care for human life. And it's something that the reason I got to thinking about it this way recently is, every once in a while, I think the guy really puts things poignantly, more poignantly than I've heard just about anybody alive put it, and that's Tucker Carlson. And so, he just said that he mentioned how he and his family haven't given to a charity that sends something, far overseas to some poor family in years and years, because he said if he knows that somebody that he's close to, or somebody who knows someone he's close to, is doing poorly, and that maybe a little present from him or just something from him could help, then that's where they give their charity. That's where they give his wife's a devout Christian. I know she's like an Episcopalian or something, or maybe an Episcopalian daughter of a minister or something like that. But, they're going to give their 10%, he said, better than a lot of folks nowadays would give. And they give it to somebody they know, because that's really what charity is all about. Not to say you're not doing something good if you give to some group that's helping out overseas. That can be good as well. But that charity starts at home. And so, on the flip side of that, kind of a corollary with that is, if you can be talking about a victory way over far on the other side of the world for justice, and they just keep pumping that up with people that you'll never meet, you'll never come in contact with, and that really, your duties and justice to that person are, essentially nothing, because you're not really having any sort of human interactions with them, then that's how they're going to win that, is by basically having you focused on something that's on the other side of the world that really has nothing to do with your state in life. So that's my little contribution.
No, it's very well put. Fwaz, your thoughts?
No, that was actually very excellent. You should clip that and put it out by John. And I agree with him. I'll also quote Tucker in just a second. But if you look at the fallen nature of man, and we talked about earlier, in order for you to get into politics and to get to that highest level that you could possibly get to, you almost have to be morally compromised, because our politics are not for upright moral men. So pride is being one of the biggest things is, and to quote Tucker, I was listening to him say something the other day, I think it was yesterday. He talked about how it's very difficult for people to apologize and admit that they were wrong. He said, if I rear-ended you, in a car accident, I would get out of my car and I'd say, I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that. But he said, if you start a war, now the bigger the issue, the bigger the consequence, and you're never going to admit that you're wrong, and you're never going to say apologize and say we were wrong. Let's find an off ramp, because the consequences are too great. Trying to explain to the country that we spent $2 trillion on a credit card that affected our generation and the generations to come to fight a war in Iraq when there were no weapons of mass destruction. To admit that you were wrong, the consequences are too big. To admit about COVID, this is Tucker saying, to admit about COVID, about the whole, we're going to fire you if you don't take our medicine. To admit that you're wrong, the consequences are too big. To try to face the people that you've been pleading and selling this story of how Vladimir Putin is this big tyrant, which he is, and how Zelensky is this innocent, nice little man who's really just trying to defend democracy across the world, which is a bunch of baloney, and how we spent $200 billion of your money, and now groceries and gas are more expensive for your family. To try to admit that we lost it won't work. The consequences are too big. And because we're dealing with fallen people, and when you get to the highest degree of politics, and pride really takes over, because we all know who the most prideful being was. This I think is the reason why they just will not let this war go. And the fact that not only are you lying and sending money over there, but you're benefiting from it by getting these kickbacks. So why stop? And Putin already took what he wanted. He hasn't gone for more. So this whole idea of, well, he's going to go for NATO. He's going to go for NATO. Well, why don't we get to that bridge when we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But no, they want to push for more money and for more bloodshed and more of our sons and daughters going to war to fight for a small country in Ukraine that belonged to Russia to begin with. The very, prior to that, it's to admit that they're wrong would be a huge consequence. And now they have to answer, you spent $200 billion of our money and showed nothing for it. That's what they've done the last 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, once again, absolutely solid on that. The whole thing from top to bottom is being very well looked at here on News from the Pew. Steve, give us your thoughts.
Well, I mean, do you guys see where Austin, let me see, I'm trying to pull this video up. See what Austin said about foreign policy?
I can only imagine. I can only imagine what Darth Vader has to say.
Sorry, I was trying to do this while listening to you guys. First off, here's our new House Speaker.
Is another priority. Of course, we can't allow Vladimir Putin to march through Europe, and we understand the necessity of assisting there. What we've said is that if there is to be additional assistance to Ukraine, which most members of Congress believe is important, we have to also work in changing our own border policy. And so there's been a lot of thoughtful negotiation ongoing with that. I think most of our Senate colleagues recognize that those two things need to move together because we owe that to the American people. That's what they're demanding that we do.
Yeah. Is it, Mikey? Is it?
Ukraine. I thought I had it downloaded. Sorry. Well, as former Raytheon board member Lloyd Austin basically went out and called all the non-interventionists we're the problem, basically, not the Team America World Police. Where in the funny flippity flip did I put it? I thought I transferred it over. I guess I didn't. I'll try to find it again. But yeah, it's a son of a gun. There it is, Austin.
Under A?
Yeah, it was under A.
We can't really hear it, bro.
I did all that. He doesn't talk.
No, he's talking. We just can't hear it.
Over the long sweep of American history, the cost of courage has always been dwarfed by the cost of cowardice. And the cost of abdication has always far outweighed the cost of leadership. The world will only become more dangerous if tyrants and terrorists believe that they can get away with wholesale aggression and mass slaughter. You know, in every generation, some Americans prefer isolation to engagement, and they try to pull up the drawbridge. They try to kick loose the cornerstone of American leadership, and they try to undermine the security architecture that has produced decades of prosperity without great power war. And you'll hear some people try to brand an American retreat from responsibility as bold new leadership. So when you hear that, make no mistake, it is not bold, it is not new, and it is not leadership. Let me urge you to pass a full year appropriation.
Golf clap, golf clap.
That's the single best thing that Congress can do to strengthen our national defense. You know, our competitors don't have to operate under continuing resolutions, and so doing so erodes both our security and our ability to compete. And I also urge you to pass our urgent supplemental budget request to help fund our national security needs, to stand by our partners in danger, and to invest in our defense industrial base.
American. I want to play the song, but I just can't.
Yeah, unless you got the entire thing beeped out, I don't think we can really play it here.
No, exactly. I mean, Ron Paul toured a park the other day, and he mentioned that exact thing. He goes, what's the real problem? It's us. It's not the think tanks. It's not the media. It's not throughout Congress. It's not the military-industrial complex. It's us, as he says, because the world will only become more dangerous if tyrants and terrorists believe they can get away with wholesale aggression and mass slaughter. We have to continue to play the role of global military hegemon, policeman of the world, because of that. That's just, it could be worse if there was peace on earth, is what.
Hey, man, those gender studies degrees aren't going to spread themselves.
Well, him and Nikki. I mean, Nikki's board member for Boeing, and he was former Raytheon. All those guys have money somewhere. That was the whole thing with was Cheney and what's his face, Halliburton.
Yep.
So yeah, all these guys have something else going. They're getting rich off the blood of the people, and they do not care. And Vivek called her out on that, which is great. It's always fun to see somebody a warmonger getting called out, a saber rattler. She doesn't care. She's getting a new house if you get those contracts. Same thing with Lloyd. These guys have never, Graham and all those guys, they've never met somebody they couldn't kill.
It was real funny. I was watching a little bit of the debate coverage, and Nikki Haley was like, I just watched my daughter get married, and it was so hard for her to afford a house. I'm like, are you kidding me? You just bombed like 6 countries just to afford it. Give me a break. How much money you all make? I love it when politicians, especially nowadays, try to equate themselves with us. Like, I understand your pain. It's like, no, you don't. You have 3 Teslas. I don't think you understand what we're going through here right now.
Did you see the people are losing their minds over, not in a bad way. Some guy made a video on TikTok about Home Alone. When he goes to the grocery store.
Yeah, how much he was able to pay for $19.
Yeah, he puts the whole thing there. In 1983, the guy makes a video off it, and it comes out to the grand total today of $68.
Yeah, that's a little much. It's a little much. Hey, John, do you want to get in with that point you put in the chat?
Well, yeah, I mean, just that whole rambling mess, and it was just like a bunch of highfalutin words thrown together. I mean, what a garbled mess semantically. But I mean, yeah, they always, folks like that always throw these big words out there to just kind of keep our brains trying to figure out concretely, like what in the world all those abstract terms mean. Because he's talking about, you know, these other countries don't have to worry about continuing resolutions. No, they just have to worry about the hegemony of the dollar, you know, and how they're going to figure out to pay for things when they don't control the reserve currency basically of the world, at least. I mean, we'll see what happens with reserve currency coming up. I mean, my only fear is that, you know, the flipping from the dollar is just going to be to something even worse. God forbid, if we can even, you know, fathom something worse than what the Fed has done. I mean, since its creation, and even more so since getting off the gold standard under Nixon. But it's just so ridiculous. But it's again, this just shows you how the liberal arts really are a powerful tool. But they're not the godsend that, you know, some followers of Dorothy Sayers can have convinced people over the last 30, 40 years, because they can be used for good or evil. So you see like the good use of it with Vivek humiliating Haley, but the bad use of a powerful rhetorical tool is to throw a bunch of abstract terms at people. And like, because we're human beings, we deal with the concrete first and foremost. Like, it takes a second for even the most brilliant people to process that. Okay, you know, all these big words that end in, you know, shun and ness. Okay, what is he really trying to say? What's the point of it all? And by the time you get to it, like, he's slipped in a few really bad things. And so it's just, you know, a heads up to. I mean, I look. I confess, I listen to most things on the platforms at about 1.5 to 2.5 speed. If they have over 2.0, I usually go that route. So I confess I'm bad about this, but, you know, every once in a while I have to slow it down, maybe even to 0.75 speed, and say, whoa, what did he say once more? You know what I'm saying? Just to make sure we caught what they're trying to throw out there. And so he's trying to make us swallow a whole lot more than what it seemed like at first.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what'll be funny?
Go ahead.
Because John was talking about the gold standard, and now we look back and say, boy, that gold standard was great. We want to go back to the gold, but conserve you know, in the future, when we have a digital dollar and people can't start their car or their stove, people are going to say, boy, man, wasn't it great back in the days we used to print all that money out of thin air? That'll be the true conservatives.
Right. Well, we're always looking back.
We're always looking back.
We're always looking back. Conservatives just always longing for the good old days of 5 years ago, whatever we can find. So at this point,
that's exactly it. Yeah.
Hey guys, remember back in the day when we had the flip phones? Oh, back with the Rockhead hair. Guess what, folks? You know what he's cooking? He's going to he's going to the Pentagon, and I'm glad he dressed up in his finest black shirt, black, you know, button up, and black pants. Very, very presidential. I mean, that's, folks, he will be president if this union's still together in what, 2032. He'll be president probably. And yes, Camacho time, baby. He will be Camacho.
I got this guy not sure.
The fact of the matter is, and we can just go around quickly on this one, just as a kind of a thought process. This is the natural evolution of politics at this point. Trump opened the floodgates. I'm surprised more celebrities, maybe when they finally do push Biden out, maybe a celebrity will jump in as a surprise candidate. I don't know. Oprah could always be one, something of that nature. But I mean, John, there's no place for these United States to go but down. You could say Trump was the opening of it. You could say this is just as the population gets dumber, and our population is getting dumber. Of course, the standard for which who we will follow is also getting lower as well. You try to hand any lawyer today that's coming out of law school, try to hand them anything of the Federalist Papers without notes or without any help and being like, can you tell me what this means? None of them will understand it because they haven't been taught law. They've been taught precedent. And so they actually don't have an understanding of how the law works. Anyway, John, your quick thoughts on The Rock being a presidential candidate within the next 2 cycles.
I mean, I guess kind of like the fall of, I mean, all these things are kind of limping comparisons. You're never going to get really a perfect one, but sort of like with the fall of the first fall of the Roman Empire, kind of the Western Empire. You had you could see signs of it breaking for 200 plus years. 200 plus years.
Well, let me also throw, while you're talking about that, we are talking about legalizing illegal immigrants to throw them in the U.S. military, much like the Romans brought in mercenaries towards the end of their empire. Continue, John.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, like, in a certain sense, if you look at how decrepit the Roman Empire got towards the, let's just say from allowing for every once in a while a little bit of an improvement. For instance, under Constantine, Constantine was very prudent in many ways, but basically like from Decius on to about the fall. So you're talking about from 250 to like the 470s. Things just mostly got worse and worse and worse. You kind of see the writing on the wall. So, maybe this is a good sign that things will break apart a little bit faster, and we'll have the chance to have some sensibly sized republics. Or, at this point, I think those of us that think otherwise even might even welcome a sensibly sized monarchy or aristocracy. Just something that's not the conglomeration of universalist powers that right now the U.S. just seems to be some sort of cog in a wheel that obviously has no care for the common good in any reasonable definition of the word common good of the society. So the Rock being a politician, you would think that after Trump ran, it wouldn't take any extra comparisons to say, look, we're idiocracy, just come to real life. But it is true. We need one who you wouldn't just have to use AI to get the gun. The Rock you could visually see there taking the place, I think, of the president under idiocracy. So maybe there's hope if you're looking at it that way. That the faster these things unravel, the faster we'll be able to build back things better, build back better.
Build back better, baby. Pause. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I love what John said. I would even go back to before Trump. You had Reagan, who was an actor, celebrity, became president. And then you had Arnold, who was an actor, celebrity, who became governor. But Trump is the biggest that we've ever seen. Somebody who's a complete outsider. Some say he's an outsider, but he was such good friends with all of these politicians that he wasn't so much of an outsider. And this is the reason I think why some people are floating there saying that his vice president pick could be Ben Carson, because he needs somebody who's not in politics to continue this whole idea of I'm the outsider fighting the system. So Tucker and Carson are the two perfect ones that he could go with. But to answer your question, I think celebrities are useful idiots. That's what they are, because there's no way in the system that we have right now. If you think politics, you have to be immoral to get to the highest level. You should see the music industry. That's even worse. You should see the acting industry. You should see this, the entertainment industry alone. You have these guys who you'll never get up there unless you do what we tell you to do. And the message that we ask you to put out so we could change the shape of culture into what we want to do it. We know who owns these things. We know who's the person that's running behind politics and entertainment. It hasn't been Catholic for decades. The devil continues to get these useful idiots he promises them the same thing he promised Adam. He promised the same thing he promised Christ in the desert. I'll give you fame. I'll give you all that stuff. You can build your treasures here on earth. And as long as you do what I say. Now, if you have a change of heart and decides to follow Christ, we already have your demise waiting for you. It's either going to be in a cell with Epstein, or you are going to be hit with a case of abuse, even if you didn't do it. We saw it with Michael Jackson. Every single evidence points that Mike Jack did not do what they say he did. It's kind of funny how it was exactly around the same time when he took his catalog out of Sony, the biggest company in the music industry at the time. As soon as he took it out of Sony and started making money out of his own and his catalog, and they couldn't touch that dollar, all of a sudden, the cases with the little kids started coming along, just magically. Everybody started coming in with no evidence whatsoever. And it's what they continue to do with these people. So The Rock is a useful idiot. His demise is already there. They probably already tell him, if you don't toe the line, if you decide to find an off-ramp, here's the case that's going to destroy you. Same thing with Eminem. Eminem was making fun of gay people in the 90s.
Yeah, it was.
but he gets a pass because he toes the line. And they know, as soon as you don't, here's your demise. And we're talking about Epstein Island, the list. You do know that if they release that list, the blackmail is gone. They have no leverage to use against these people to become useful idiots. So this is what we're living at right now. We're living in this system where you have useful idiots that are going to do exactly what the system is going to tell them to do. And if they don't, that person is disposable. They'll find somebody else. And that's what the devil has been doing the whole time. But one quote from St. John Chrysostom, which I love, and this is what's so cool about our Lord. And he takes these things and he flips it back at the devil and shoves it in his face. The devil used a virgin, a tree, and death against us, but Christ used a virgin, tree, and death against the devil.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to end what you were talking about right there, because it's absolutely perfect. And yes, it is. No, probably nobody's ever seen this movie. You shouldn't see this movie. I saw it before. It was really The Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves. The last scene after, I'm gonna spoil it for you because you shouldn't watch it. Keanu Reeves defeats the devil's plot, blah blah blah, and they go time travel to the back of the beginning of the movie. And so the devil tries to tempt him with the same offer, and Keanu Reeves says no. But then he says, "Well, how about I put you on the cover? I interview you for a piece or whatever." And then Keanu was like, "Okay, all right." And then he morphs from the reporter back to Al Pacino. He says, "Vanity, it's my favorite sin." And then they cut to black. And so that's really Americans' vanity, whether it's TikTok or Instagram, or whether it's having the nicest car on the block, or whether it's whatever the case, it's the easiest sin for Americans to fall into. Well, besides gluttony and gossip and pretty much all the other ones. But the fact of the matter is we're teed up for it. And so, people, and bring it back to The Rock, people whispering sweet nothings into this guy's ear, like, "Oh, everybody would totally vote for you. And, all you got to do is go out there. You're so popular, blah, blah, blah." Guess what? They did the same thing to Trump. "Oh, you could run, blah, blah." And then as soon as he did it, they're like, "Oh, he's a terrorist. He's Hitler. Kill him." And all this other stuff. So it's funny how they build you up and rip you back down. Anyway, Steve, your thoughts?
That was interesting what Fawaz said about Michael Jackson. I never heard that, but makes sense. Here's what he talked about the Epstein thing. This came on, I forget the guy's name. It was one of the late night shows. But don't listen to what he's mocking Aaron Rodgers. Hear what what's his face? McAfee says, who's one of the most popular YouTubers, TV talk show, sports talk show guy in the world right now.
Yeah.
To say all this UFO talk has the tinfoil hatters going wild, including Green Bay whackpacker Aaron Rodgers, who offered this hot take on the Pat McAfee show.
I believe that this has been going on for a long time. Interesting timing on everything. There's a lot of other things going on in the world. Did you hear about the Epstein client list about to be released too?
What's that? What are you talking about?
There's some files that have some names on it that might be getting released pretty soon.
Oh.
He has no clue what he's talking about. And how many people that watch the show probably have no clue about what's going on. I was joking about that a couple years ago before a buddy of mine died. You go to, and I think, Rick, Church brought this up years ago about being at like a Chili's and seeing people talk about the dunk contest for like 2 hours, just critiquing. Well, pretty much the world's on fire. You're talking about this stuff that really doesn't matter or anything like that.
Nope.
And you get paid buco's amount of money. And is what Faraz was saying when you thought about Jerry Richardson down here in Carolina, when he was what they said in the owners for the NFL in the owners box was he was like The Rock in the sense of literally he was the foundation of morality for the league. And people hated him because he walked in and it was like everyone respected him when he walked in. I don't know what he did, but all of a sudden there's this stuff that was during the Me Too thing, him groping another lady. He could barely move. I remember when Cam Newton wanted to make him dab, and his arms were like, he couldn't do anything because he just had like 19 heart surgeries. And if you watch them in the during the games, they filmed I used to sit in front of where the owner's box was. Used to be $30 a ticket then. Now it's pretty much like $130 a ticket. But he would wrap him up like a burrito because he was literally almost looked like he was dying. But all of a sudden, he's stories of him jumping over in a limo seat to grope a woman that's 3 rows up. The guy, and people bought that. And then what happened to Carolina afterwards? Oh, there's trannies on the field now. I mean, it's pretty much the worst organization in the league. All after Big Cat got kicked out, and they literally kicked him out. So I wonder, like what we talked about Michael Jackson. I wonder what he did about that. But anyway, back to the Rock thing. Yeah, people want the celebrity thing. Don't vote for Michelle O. They have no idea what Michelle has in store, but her name's Obama, so we'll vote for her. How many people you watch a game, they'll have like whoever it is for president, Magic for president, LeBron for president, everyone's for president. And they don't care what it is. Just if you're famous, you had a good day, you hit a home run, you're up there for president. I mean, Mickey Mouse gets how many votes? I'm sure people just do that just for giggles, but I mean, The Rock would win just because of celebrity status. And it goes back to the whole Trump thing about people just love to hear, they got their ears tickled. Who else got some ears tickled? They heard Miss Whitney Webb had a great line of, if you didn't think you could be psyoped, how many people got psyoped?
Yep.
Everyone was jacked on this dude a week or two ago. He went to somebody, his wife's SSPX. So we gotta love this guy.
The libertarians couldn't shut up about him.
Yeah. Converse to Judaism. They wanted to be Argentina is now the most pro-Israel land nation out there. Translation: Zionist. What was another one he did? Argentina's Milei taps Basile as new central bank. He's an Epstein guy. Works for was a JP Morgan guy. Oh, that's libertarian right there. There's more on it. People
we were one of the few shows, though, Steve. We were one of the few shows to actually not jump on that bandwagon. We called it out immediately. That,
we were basically just cautious. We didn't know which way it would go or anything like that. But I mean, I don't think any of us said. I know Jonathan and I would both say, just wait and watch and see type deal. But there's other guys who were just all in. I mean, especially the trad cap movement, they were all in. Look at this guy.
Look at the vice president. The vice president's this and that and all the other things. Yeah.
The Trump of Argentina. Why? Because he called people libtards. That's how you vote for somebody, because he says names. You're like, oh yeah, get him. I'll take a chainsaw. Blah. You got marketed pretty good. And just right off the bat. I mean, how libertarian is it to have a JP Morgan guy and wants to get into the dollar? You're going to get rid of the Argentinian currency to get into the dollar. Yeah, you bought and sold a bill of goods. And just that'll be the same thing with everyone else. You get rocking. What's this for? What does he think the president can do? We got to elect the dictator? Yeah, you want Hancho Camacho Bonadu and President Not Sure to come in later. Hey, you know what I got in this? I got Brondo. It's what plants crave.
Absolutely. Well, at least you have it. So, you'll grow big and strong. As long as you don't use water out the toilet either, you should be okay.
You mean out the toilet?
Yeah. I ain't seen no plants grow out of no toilet. Anyway. All right, folks. It looks like we've covered everything today. It is time to hit the cry room and the saint of the week. John, are you prepared, or would you like okay, we had that face. Was on first anytime. Who you got?
Yeah, my saint of the week, actually my saints of the week. I'm gonna go with with the likes of Cristobal de Avila, Saint Thomas More, the people who actually took their spirituality serious, and what they did is they had a game plan, and they wrote down almost to the hour of what their spiritual life is going to look like. And now that we're approaching the secular New Year, where we've already approached the Catholic New Year, which was the start of Advent, the new liturgical year, I think it's very important for us to do the same. Where I remember Cristobal de Avila would write down, he would say, I would dedicate 1 hour to prayer and 1 hour to walking, because it's important for your mental health and your physical health. 6 hours for sleeping, and then that leaves me with 1 hour for spiritual reading. That leaves me with 14 hours, for example, or whatever, how many hours, 12 hours to earn a living. And he really broke it down, because what it does, it really keeps you away from idle time and committing mortal sin. And I think that everybody should do this. With the New Year coming, the secular New Year. I would say the Catholic New Year, but most of us have New Year's resolution January 1st, so I don't want to confuse anybody. But on January 1st, if you have that plan written down, you're more likely to commit to those spiritual duties, or even just duties in the state of your life, so that you can complete those duties for the sake of your family and for your spiritual self. And remember to always do it for the sake of God, because you love Him. So that's that. And then my cry room is Chris Christie, because his Trump derangement syndrome has gotten to a point, man, where this guy literally will go on national TV and all he does is talk about. He's like that. He's like Dwight Schrute, trying to get everybody to turn against Jim. At any point, no matter what the conversation is, it's like, let's get Jim, and that's what he's like, because he's just a pitiful man.
Yeah, he is. Excellent. Steve, who you got?
St. Louis, I'll go with the Texas nationalist movement for getting the votes, getting the 100,000 or getting the signatures, 100,000 signatures. That's not an easy thing to get. And
by the way, I've actually signed that, so
I'm not shocked. I would expect you to. You say you did.
I can't be on the show unless you, Steve.
We have to reevaluate our friendship if you didn't.
You said no.
There's been a lot of great little Federalist things come down. Was it Portland, Oregon? They had a thing that Jesse Waters was all upset about. He was crying about the 14th Amendment being dead, and it's like a lot of this shows how many real communists. I mean, if you want top down, DC controls all, just call yourself a communist. You call yourself a conservative, a liberal, whatever. You're a commie. And they want centralized authority and top down. But you get rid of the 14th. Hope it does die. Do something to its grave when it dies. That'd be nice. But there's a lot of, you've covered it with the Second Amendment, with the Second Amendment stuff. I would say the Second Amendment because people know about it, but everyone's got their own gun law in their constitution. And Portland, there's a little city in Portland about the school.
Yeah.
And it was something, I can't remember what the whole story was about, but they were segregated. They were not segregated, but they were doing something about it. And he said the 14th Amendment didn't do this. It's a city. If a school district wants to do X, how in the world does DC have to have a thing about DC, which is on this side of the continent? I mean, people had to start thinking, do we really need to get DC involved in everything? We might as well get DC involved with our own transactions when someone comes over, buy something off OfferUp, if that's the case, which, hey, after $600, they are involved. The cry room for me is, I would say, especially the trads, the people that are trying to jettison Advent. We got to be traditional. We got to be traditional. We got to be traditional. Oh, we want to have our Christmas trees up right now and celebrate. Put all the. Don't you get on my. We got to have. Wait a minute. We live in the liturgical. I've actually had people upset about wanting to live the liturgical calendar. It's like we'll live it Christmas to the last day, but those 3-4 weeks in Advent, forget about that. No, we don't need. We don't need that. Well, let's go ahead and just jettison Advent.
Like
those guys, cry room.
Not like, eat all the and as a man who has devoured the Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes, okay, I get it. It's delicious. The food that comes this time, just take them and save them. I mean, I should take my own advice, but still, I can little pontificate.
Well, there was we used to, when we had a Costco membership, they had these kind of like holiday popcorn or little
yeah.
They're really good. We'd buy a couple bags and you just wait till after Christmas.
But I want to eat it now. John, who you got? I gave you some time. Who you got?
All right, I'm throwing in the cry room. It's the easy one. I'm slam dunking the cry room. LeBron James. All right, slamming it. Also got dunked on by a guy who looked like him a few nights ago in a basketball game. So just kind of, it's a little bit pushback for that. But this guy seriously did look exactly like LeBron James. It was about 6'7", so he's close to the height. Anyway, for saying that you got to try to get guns out of the area around UNLV, and that was going to help. So, I mean, I don't even know where to. Yeah, right there. The stupidity level on that one is grand.
A gun-free. We gotta get guns out of a gun-free zone.
Yeah, guys. There was a professor who did it, so that's legit. It was a professor who didn't get a job at UNLV, went in onto the gun-free campus and shot people. So I don't know what to tell you. That's how it goes.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny too because the whole prof who spent like 30 years of his life in school versus LeBron who spent probably way too few years of life in school. Like, it doesn't matter. The stupidity level, lots of school, little school, stupidity can catch up with people of different backgrounds, let's say. LeBron's getting shamed into the cry room there. I would say, though, for my saint of the week, I'm going to throw in there Alex Jones. All right. He's got all kinds of personal issues. I get it. But, I mean, just looking back, because Tucker had put out something about how, Jones was truth-telling about what was going to still happen on 9/11 months and months before it did. Basically declare the very scenario. I mean, he wasn't the only one. I know, like there's other people too. You could maybe better examples, but Jones has not given up. And he was into it before it was really popular. I mean, I was listening to him as a young college kid. He was like the only one to listen to it at that time, just that sort of perseverance in trying to tell people about things at a great cost, a great personal cost, that takes some sort of virtue right there. So, for that sort of fortitude, maybe sometimes a little bit of a lack of prudence, but a good bit of fortitude there. That's my saint of the week right there.
Alex Jones is the American prophet. All right.
Is he going on Tucker Carlson?
He's going on. He went on for 2 hours. So it's going to break. No, well, they said it was a 2-hour interview. It's going to break X when it happens. So for my saint of the week, I'm going to put Ken Paxton again in there for suing the federal government with the Federalist and unfortunately the Daily Wire under the claim of censorship technology that deplatforms and demonetizes conservative sites. Continue to push back. Once again, Ken Paxton is not perfect. He's not great at everything, but at least he continues to keep the government on their heels by continuing to keep them in those state of lawsuits. My cry room is the sisters. Let's see if I can actually find them. Oh, I can't. There's 3 or 4 different sisters out there, religious orders. And you would know them as the Sisters of the Traveling Pantsuits if you actually look them up online, because they've all discarded their habits and they're all in the very fashionable pantsuits. The Adrian Dominican Sisters of Adriana, the Maryland Sisters of St. Francis of Philadelphia, of Aston, and others who have sued Smith & Wesson because apparently they are selling AR-15s and they're trying to get after them for doing so. And they're doing something very interesting. There's something called the PLACC, which is supposed to protect gun manufacturers from the actions of people who take their products and use them for nefarious purposes. Now, this is not that case. What they're trying to do is to sue the actual company for not providing them, for not fulfilling their fiduciary duty. And trying to do it that way. Once again, they're using Catholics. They're not using Protestants. They're not using any other religion. They're using Catholics to push their culture war and the ability or the wanting to strip you of your God-given right to keep and bear arms. Yeah, if you want to play it, Steve.
Nuns against assault weapons. In a first-of-its-kind lawsuit over so-called assault weapons, a group of Catholic nuns who are Smith & Wesson shareholders is suing the board of directors at the gun manufacturer to halt the production and sale of popular firearms. The nuns allege that the board of directors for Smith & Wesson ignored legal risk, exposing the company to liability by making, selling, and illegally marketing AR-15 style rifles. The AR-15 has become more popular and more common in the U.S. since 1994 assault weapons ban expired in 2004 and has been used in a number of mass shootings in the U.S., including in the 2022 Robb Elementary School shooting in Uvalde, Texas, killing 19 children and 2 teachers. In a statement to Reuters, the nuns said, quote, "These rifles have no purpose other than mass murder," end quote.
Ridiculous.
Gun rights advocates say the rifles are used for hunting, target practice, and self-defense. The nuns filed what is called a derivative lawsuit in Nevada State Court, where the gun maker is headquartered. Derivative lawsuits are aimed at holding corporate boards accountable for breaching their duty to shareholders. If the nuns win, the lawsuit would hold the directors liable for any costs that come with the alleged illegal marketing of assault weapons. But rather than damages paid to the plaintiffs, in this case, damages would be paid directly to Smith & Wesson. Smith & Wesson also faces a legal challenge brought this year by victims of the Highland Park mass shooting, alleging the company unlawfully marketed the type of assault weapon used by the shooter. The lawsuit also comes nearly a year after Sandy Hook family settled for $73 million with Remington Arms, the maker of the rifle used to kill 20 children and 6 educators at the Connecticut elementary school back in 2012.
Okay, I got to get in real quick on that one. Hold on. That last point, the Remington point, is completely factually incorrect. What happened is Remington was bankrupt at that time. There was an insurance company, a brokerage company that was using the Remington name. They did not go to court. They did not make a settlement. This was done outside of court. So Remington itself, the company, never settled with anybody. This was the insurance company, the attorneys acting in behalf of Remington. So that's completely factually incorrect in that. And the second part is there's the CAA, which prevents any of this other stuff. But the fact of the matter is they're using Catholics once again, which is why the Armed Catholic exists, is to push back against this stuff. They're using Catholics to push their cultural agenda. They don't use anybody else, right? They use these pants-suited sisters who have, they're living in modernity, right? They're not wearing their habits. They're not. And then now I'll echo Steve here, and I'm going to try and not go on a rant because the show's about to end. Why aren't these sisters going into these neighborhoods and helping these people out? Why aren't they going into soup kitchens? Why aren't they helping fix these broken homes? Why aren't they doing any of these things that they're supposed to do instead of acting in an activist way? Why are they suing? Do they have their money invested in Marlboro? Do they have their money invested in McDonald's? Do they have their money invested in alcohol companies? If they have such a problem with the product that they're investing in, okay, they don't have to invest in Smith & Wesson. They can easily if they have such a problem, they can take their money and go somewhere else. But instead, they're being pushed by BlackRock and Vanguard, who are the largest 2 private investors in Smith & Wesson, to do these kinds of things. And I have a whole video that's going up at 5:30. You guys can watch it then. I don't want to take everybody else's time. But it's always laundry day, Steve, for these sisters, because they never seem to have these habits on anymore. But that's the thing too. They want you to think of that. They want you to think of the sister in the full habit who's doing the corporal works of mercy, who are going out. They're like, oh wow, these nuns. No, it's Sister Mary Pantsuit, who's on a bus, who hasn't been inside a church in 2 weeks, telling you about trying to give you moral guidance. Anyway, now as you can see, this is I'm a little triggered. So, all right, I guess that's it for this episode.
Preacher Rick.
Hey, this is literally my niche. There is this is the narrow niche. This is it. That's right. Don't get me going. The Rick will go off. So That's it for this episode of News from the Pew.
Hey, Rick.
I want to promote a Porter Bug Guy. You want a Christmas? Oh. It finally came out yesterday, so go get it.
Hey, Rick. Yeah. If you keep going, we'll call the News from the Pew.
Yeah, pew pews. Right. News from the pews. That's actually what I should have called my channel.
News from the pew pew.
I'm not gonna use it because I have to give Floss credit for it.
No, you can have it. You can have it.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with us from News from the Pew Pews. Like, subscribe, and share the news from the pew. We'll talk to you all next week. God bless. And viva Cristo Rey.
Speaking of great shooting.
Get it, buddy.
Oh, my leg. Oh, my leg.
You had the distance. You had the distance.
Anthony, down he goes.
There goes a sniper got him.
The sniper.
That's a career-ending injury before the career started.
Right.
Let's get you up, Anthony.
Dude, Sue.
You didn't get it from half court, but we're going to give you a chance to shoot it from the